When I approach the one-to-one now, and it's probably developed since when we started, I want my students to create more things than just a worksheet. It seems like when, especially in reading, you read something, you fill out a worksheet. So the first step with that is I try to create assignments that were not just worksheets, and I think I did the same before. It's just the world is much larger of what I can do. And this website, you're welcome to it. We could put it on an email. And I think a lot of schools have swiped things off it. It's great if they do. Send me an email if you do, or if you have questions. There's just so many different things. As a teacher, I think initially I was overwhelmed with the size of the internet. There's so many different things you can do with it. And at first I think I was maybe obsessed with knowing every single thing about it that I was going to have my students do. I know the terms of use, which I know it's appropriate for the students, and then the students, they can sit up here and tell you more about the sites we use regularly than I can. They know how to use it better than me, and I think that goes back to the mindset. From creating the first part, and I'll try to keep it brief because I know Shannon's got a ton of cool stuff. I started with creating products with what we read, and one example would be this Comic Life, and probably don't check the spelling or infer any symbolism with what's on the screen. Really this is a Comic Life a student did about a book. And instead of just writing a book report, and we do tons of writing. We probably write more than we did without the computers. But they create things with it. So they go through, they plan out, and this is just one of the several options that they have for a book report. And this one goes on and on.
This is a brilliant book report.
There is so much to it. And there's one of the many options. So, and this, as you can see, the screen here, it can go all the way down to the end. And that's from Comic Life. That was a base thing on the computer we have. Darren talked about going to the iPad, and when we started with the computers, I would have never thought we possibly could have gone to an all web-based, but I really could see it going in that direction. My Microsoft Word was down. Word and Office and Excel quit working. It would just bounce up and down for about 2 months. I never got it fixed till I had to hand something in for Darren, actually. So I would have never believed it would do that way, but to hand papers in, we do papers. My college prep's doing a research paper. They'll hand it in on Google Docs because they can see me edit it at the same time as they turn it in. So I think it's powerful that direction. Another cool tool that we use, I'm not going to go through all these. This is called a Kaku. And to build this, we did this on the day after Martin Luther King Day. We were out of school. 4 students at the same time collaborated to make this. They compared the Martin Luther King speech to a book we were reading in class. And this took them in a matter of 20 minutes to come up with the information. It took them more time to come up with the information than to organize it on the computer. So this is called a Kaku. And once again, you could go through, there's tons of examples of student work. In my first time in 17 years, I've got out the computer on a Friday night when my friends were over, and I showed them student work, and I would have never done that without some of the things we were doing. So that's where it started, or what starts with me is I don't want to give them just, and we answer questions, we have discussions, face-to-face discussions all the time, but I try to work away from just filling out worksheets. If you hear about one-to-one schools that fail, the research says they give them worksheets to fill in for assignments. Then I moved to collaboration, and for collaboration, there's tons of sites. I'm actually not on Facebook, but they say this looks a lot like Facebook, and this is called Edmodo. And what I have here is, I use this with my 7th graders a ton, and it's a place where they can go and comment. In this particular one, there's a poll where they did some research. 2 students actually debated this in the start of class, and then all the students get a vote, and then in order to vote, they wrote about what they voted with. And what Edmodo is it's similar to Facebook, I guess, that it's a place where you go and students get to respond to whatever you ask them. I think a lot of our students, our teachers on staff are using this. I have a ton of different groups, and it kind of probably looks confusing. But what happens is, a lot of times in class...
Sorry, the Al Capone group.
Al Capone does my shirts, is a famous one.
Nice.
We'll start... What's the comment? No, it's no comment, right? We'll start class a lot of times with this, and then the students, and I think this is the power to the computer, or whatever tool you would use. well, I'll ask a question or I'll read something to start a class, and then students will go to Edmodo, and every student will respond on Edmodo, which is similar if you had a paper and pencil, but the difference is every student sees every student's response. So instead of me being I was the shy student in class, I would write it, I'd have a great answer, I'd sit back. That doesn't happen anymore. You get to see what everybody says, and in cases like this, they get to respond by defending their position. So it becomes more collaborative. Now, to take that a step further, what we've done, and we just started this on Monday, is, I'll go down to this Western group. There's a school that we went to, Charter Oak, that we started collaborating with, and this is on a smaller scale, it's just a 7th grade reading, but the students are collaborating about different types of books, just a way to get them to encourage them to read more. And what they do is they post the kind of books they like, and so then as you can see here, someone say, that sounds like a good book, I want to read it. And what happened is I introduced this to the students Monday, and they get on it, and they talk to students from another school. So now my classroom is not confined to my building, it's another school in Iowa. I told the students, it took us a while, the 7th graders are new to the one-to-one, it took them a while for me to be comfortable with them, collaborating with others. Now what my next goal would be is to move out of the state of Iowa with the 7th graders. The freshmen, I'll try to go,
You have to talk about trip.
okay, I'll talk about the freshmen. Oh, really, the freshmen are doing a little bit more with that. There's a school from outside of Detroit called Grosse Pointe, and we're collaborating about a ton of different things. We'll read a story, and we'll get their perspective, we'll create projects, and they'll assess the project, meaning we'll post the project on Kid Blog, and I put example number 3, and I don't have example number 3 on here, so this will be interesting. No, this is what I wanted. This is about a project. You're going to see the project second, but I think what's neat is all the students, there's 35 comments, and some of them are very basic, but there's 35 comments on our student Sarah's project here. None of them are from Van Meter. So we produced it, and it's a lockdown environment of what we have for the Detroit school, but they're collaborating with the school, and what we have learned is some things about people that are similar and different from us. It's a way to work some diversity into our classroom. And so we'll create, and this was a research project, and we researched Van Meter. This particular project is really something better than I could create, and this is called a Wix, it's a create your own website for free. Everything I use is free, and she created this, and it was a way to present about Van Meter. Now, for this particular project, there's Wix, there's some of these names that come up with. There's blogs, there's wikis, there's Prezzies, but the point is, students are creating, they're not just reading, they're not just writing, they're using that to create, and then outside of my comfort zone initially is to collaborate with other students about what they're creating. And what's great about it is the audience is not me as much as it is their peers, and then it's their peers from our school, and it's their peers outside of our school. So the learning is just, what the mindset has changed about what they're learning. I guess observations, it's making the world smaller from a teacher's perspective, and maybe since I'm an English teacher, I'm not necessarily doom and gloom, but I think teaching is going to change drastically in the next 10 years, meaning the amount of teachers may change drastically. I really believe that, well, you have access now to take any course you want, and I would rather be on the forefront of that, and I don't know if they approve what I say or not, but I would rather be on the forefront of that where I'm creating the courses and collaborating and being part of that rather than sticking with myself in my classroom and eventually they're going to take my class somewhere else. So I want to provide them with all the opportunities that I can. So that was it. I've talked quickly, but I want to make sure I have room for everybody else. So.
As Shannon's getting set up, what questions do you have about anything you've heard so far?
Oh.
What kind of resistance have you had from the teaching staff? I mean, obviously, like you said, there's varying levels of comfort with the technology or with how they want to manage their classroom and that. So what kind of resistance did you have and how did you deal with that?
I'm glad you used that word resistance, because that's resistance, or sometimes people will say pushback. We haven't really had pushback. We've had, I use this continuum, you've had people that jump in with both feet, and then you've got people that they're moving that. I mean, they understand what we're trying to do. It's more of just this kind of fear, of being able to do it effectively, because like Sean, our average ACT score last year was what, 24.3 or something like that. I mean, we've had success. It's hard to convince people, you know, when you look at the numbers that are saying you've got a highly effective school, that, hey, we need to change things up. So you always got people that maybe aren't using it as much. We don't have a lot of outward resistance. I think it's more of just different levels of people using it. I mean, we have people that are using it, like you just said, you shouldn't use, where they're just basically doing worksheets online, you know, it's that same kind of thing, but that's still a big step for some of our people that are that level, you know, whereas last year it would have, you know, if they were able to show a video on there, that would have been a good move for them. I mean, so it's getting patient, I guess, in our chair, but we haven't had a lot of resistance. I mean, that's in my perspective.
I would agree. I would just say some of the resistance was the idea that the relationship component was gone, or
Right.
would be gone with this.
Fear of that, yeah.
The fear of, you're taking my kids away from me, that's why I became a teacher. That's where I think teacher has its, you know, value. And, oh, no, this is just a tool. That was one of our teachers who retired last year. That's one of her biggest things. In fact, we had to catch her on video before she left about her changing that, because she was really nervous about that. And in tears in September told me, I'm out of here. This is wrong. I don't agree with it. And then by the end of the year, she was our biggest opponent.
But she was out of there.
Yeah, well,
She still's out of there.
well, she's still
I don't know.
God bless her, 38 years of education.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
like, I think you're entitled.
Yeah.
But yeah, for
But good
her,
for her for doing the year.
she really cared about her kids.
Yeah.
She really cared about her kids, and her kids were, why are we doing it this way? Could we do it this way and create the webpage for our newspaper? She was journalism, and she's like, I don't know how to do it, but okay.
Yeah,
And
this
the
is what
kids-
you need to have, and then you just
The
make
kids
it.
ran with it. Yeah, she was